It's day 4 in the Senate Cabinet's confirmation hearings. And President-elect Trump's pick for Secretary of State, Florida Senator Marco Rubio, has received bipartisan support since his nomination. Rubio is expected to be among the first of the Trump cabinet members to be sworn in on Inauguration Day. Meantime, Attorney General nominee Pam Bondi completed her second day of hearings yesterday, where she was grilled by Democrats on the January 6th pardons. Joining us now to discuss all things politics is Mr. Timothy Allen Simon, back on the Live Zone. Happy Thursday, sir, and good to see you.
Happy Thursday to you, Guy, and go Commanders.
Oh, you can say that again. Can't wait to talk about them in about an hour. In the meantime, last night, all eyes happened to be on the White House in the Oval Office, where President Biden's fifth and final primetime address from the Oval Office took place. Now, he delivered a nearly 20-minute speech capping up more than 50 years in politics. During the address, Biden highlighted the work of his administration. He sought to cement his legacy, calling for unity. But Timothy, he also took a couple of shots at the president-elect, and that happens to be Mr. Donald Trump. Your take on what the president had to say?
Well, I think the president took the tone of former president and five-star general Dwight Eisenhower and warning the nation about the challenges that we face by way of the growing wealth amongst a handful of billionaires, referencing it as an oligarchy, and tech, and that influence, whether it be by way of misinformation and or with Meta recently ending their fact-checking or moving their fact-checking group to Texas. He expressed those concerns of a tech industrial complex. And the interesting thing to me is that the first time I heard about Dwight Eisenhower's final speech and statements was in a song by Gil Scott-Heron, from what I believe was his last album, Spirits. So he gave a cautionary, statement to the nation, but also touted his achievements up and until the day that he walks out of the White House. I think he does leave a very strong legacy over 50 years, though controversial, particularly by way of his work on the omnibus crime bill, which led to mass incarceration. But I remind your viewers that even many members of the Congressional Black Caucus, perplexed with the challenge of what we call the crack epidemic, also supported the omnibus crime bill. But Joe Biden laid out to the nation what I've done, what you need to be proud of and what I've done, and what I am cautioning you about as I leave the Oval Office.
That's exactly what took place at the White House last night. Meanwhile, up the street at the U.S. Capitol, well, it's been quite busy there as well, as 4 of President-elect Trump's cabinet picks faced lawmakers yesterday. Marco Rubio got praise from both sides of the aisle. And so I guess it's fair to say, Timothy, this is pretty much a shoo-in.
Well, yes. Remember now, Marco Rubio is part of the club. The United States senators, there are only 100. They work together on a number of bills, no matter how contentious it appears to us in this Trump era and the era of polarization. In fact, they are on committees and get a chance to know each other very well. Also, I would say that Senator Rubio is qualified. He's a very bright and I think effective politician and senator. I think the controversy lies in that, like so many of Trump's allies and appointees, he was totally humiliated by President Trump when he constantly referred to him as little Marco and a member of his party. But putting that aside, yes, Senator Rubio will be confirmed by the Senate. I think that's a fair wager.
Well, as you stated, little Marco. I don't even want to say it. So with that being said, let's move on to with regard to what Ron DeSantis had to do, and that is, well, find someone to replace his seat. In this case, he selected Ashley Moody. Your thoughts on this?
Well, Attorney General Moody is a strong Trump and DeSantis supporter. I am a former appointments secretary for the state of California, and replacing political seats where someone has moved on or resigned was part of my job. Typically, a governor's concern is, can you defend the seat? Can you defend the seat? Now, the question becomes, what is the future of Governor DeSantis? This may be a seat that he's eyeing, in my opinion, depending on what his relationship would be, which has been volatile with the Trump administration as he winds out of his governorship. As you remember, he was considered an alternate to Hegseth, Pete Hegseth, in the Secretary of Defense position. So this could be a true and bona fide candidate that will defend and or a placeholder to be determined.
Well, interesting. Interesting how all of that is unfolding yet again in the sunshine state that we call Florida. We'll end with this, and that is the president-elect now considering an executive order that in essence would suspend the enforcement of TikTok for up to 60 to 90 days. Timothy, I got to tell you, the Gen Zers in the newsroom, this is all the rage. This is what's on the minds of many. Now, that's according to the Washington Post. A Supreme Court decision on the legality of the ban is expected in the coming days. What do you think is going to happen with all of this?
Well, love him, hate him, or like him, President Trump is a fascinating individual when it comes to entertainment. He openly said his son, Barron, told him that he should look at TikTok as part of his campaign efforts, which he did, and he won. So he now says, I have a soft place in my heart for TikTok. And that's, but I will also say, in regards to the sausage being made, which is the term that's used for backroom deals or how ugly politics and democracy can be, Donald John Trump puts it in your face. He'll tell you straight up, yeah, I like it because it helped me win. Where once upon a time, that would be a secret amongst the club, that so-and-so is supporting something because of some relationship or other benefit. And this is the case here. Donald Trump sees it as an effective mechanism to transmit his policy positions to America. President Biden warned us that these could be vehicles of misinformation. So what we're seeing now is a battle for the truth and who will deliver the truth. You know, Katie Ann Conway said that there are alternative facts. I've never heard of that, but be that as it may, that's the era that we're living in where finding the truth is a challenge, and TikTok will play a critical role in that. Now, the fact that the Chinese government is collecting all of this information by way of ByteDance, but let us remind ourselves, China is an adversary and a trading partner. There's a very interwoven relationship between the United States and China. And I think that's what Congress and the president has to come to grips with. How do you manage an adversary that you have a clear economic dependence upon?
Timothy, I got about a minute left, but we're just getting word out of the Middle East, Israel to be exact, that a Hamas terrorist that took part in the October 7th attacks has now been eliminated. Yet another victory for Israel. Within about a minute, your take on what's currently going on in that part of the world right now.
Well, you have positioning back and forth as to being in the best position when and if there is a ceasefire. The targeted assassinations that Israel has carried out, which, by the way, the United States has done as well, I think is something that historians will take a very critical look at. Patrice Lumumba, for example, the leader of the Congo, was a targeted assassination by Dwight Eisenhower and then carried out by John F. Kennedy. But be that as it may, I think both sides, that being Hamas and Israel, are trying to position themselves to the best of their abilities in lieu of the fact that there could very well be a ceasefire.
Yeah, we have our fingers crossed. Yet again, Mr. Timothy Allen Simon joining us right here on the Live Zone. Thank you so very much, sir. Appreciate your time.
Thank you.